Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this from lovely, beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica. And I am in the twilight hours here before it gets dark. The sun has set, and it's very lovely right now because it's not rainy season. It's been a beautiful weekend. And it is Sunday, March 8th in the year of 2026. And so we had today and this weekend, we've had this very interesting dynamic of Venus that has just entered Aries on Friday, which I talked about last week. And she passed over Neptune and then she passed over Saturn. So she passed over Neptune yesterday and then she passed over Saturn this morning here. And this is this is going to be the first of a parade of the inner planets passing over these outer planets. So first is Venus, and then the sun will do this next week, the end of next week, when the sun goes into the equinox, and when it goes into that zero Aries point, and then it passes over, Saturn, and then Neptune and Saturn. And then eventually in April, we'll get Mars and then Mercury. And Mercury is last, interestingly, because Mercury is retrograde. And it's going to take a little while for Mercury to turn around and then move forward in Pisces and then get out of Pisces and move forward in Aries. And so it's going to really be, a little while for Mercury. So Mercury will be the last of the planets, although, the moon does this regularly, but not right now. So the moon will get to Aries, not right now. We got a little time because right now the moon's in Scorpio. So we've got some time before that happens. But we are really looking at, right now it's Venus, and Venus has been with Saturn. And so this is, there was a point yesterday where Venus was between Neptune and Saturn, and I call that, the ancient astrologers, I think it was more about the moon, but it's besieged. So Venus is really between Neptune and Saturn, and that's an uncomfortable place for a planet to be. And Venus is not at her best. She's in Aries, and she likes to be in Libra, the opposite sign of Aries. And so this probably felt like some sort of squeeze on Venus, on the love principle in your life, on the experience of relationships and money and things. And so maybe you felt this. Maybe you felt some squeeze between Neptune and Saturn. And on one level, it could be deeply creative where Venus touches Neptune and she's opening up our heart and being creative and asking us to step forward into a new vision for our lives. And that's great. And then Saturn comes and says, can I really do that? Do I really believe in myself? Can I do that? And that's typical of Saturn. And, Venus and Saturn are a strange combination because Venus really does want you to open your heart. And Saturn, when it comes to Saturn, it's like, let's push that door open to the heart. Let's move that door open and really get the heart open. And I felt it was, it's been harder, I felt, to get through my meditations and really with that passion and that zeal. I mean, I'm doing it, but that usually means something big is coming over the horizon. When meditation gets a little harder, usually means you're pushing through something big. So that I felt that part of this was, moving through our obstacles, our resistances, our things that keep us from opening our heart. All right. And so our relationships may have felt this. There may have been a pinch. There may have been an ouch. There may have been oh God, not this again, in our relationships. For me, that was my cat. I don't have a husband. So my cat, really gave me agita last night. And this is hilarious. And you're like, Deb, what are you talking about? Like, this is, what is this nonsense? But the truth as it is, she loves me and I love her, and she's my beautiful animal. And when we have animals, they're subjected to these energies too. So she demanded to go out last night at like 10:30, 11 p.m. And no, we're going to bed now. And she just kept badgering me. And I was actually trying to do the meditation I do before I go to bed. And she was badgering me and meowing over my earphones and really standing at the door and pissed off I wasn't letting her out. And so finally I finished my meditation. I went outside with her. I stood outside with her. And after a few minutes, I'm standing there and she's like, she's not using the bathroom. She's like thinking about leaving and walking off to the river. And I'm like, I don't think so. You're not doing this. And really just sort of sitting in the garden, scratching herself, cleaning herself, the things cats do. And she wants to be outside because it's a beautiful night, right? It's beautiful weather. Like I said, it's not raining. And so she too wants to take advantage of this, and I understand. But guess what? That doesn't work at a 10:30 at night. She gave up that wandering life when she came to live with me. When she chose that, I didn't choose that. She walked over here across the bridge. So, would you believe I got passive aggressive behavior from her? She wouldn't cuddle. She wouldn't make biscuits. She didn't do all the things that she does with me when she wants to be affectionate. So there was no affection last night. There was no affection this morning. There was no affection when I sat down to meditate this morning. She sat next to me. I let her sniff my hand. She didn't sniff my hand. She turned away. She turned her head away. So this is Venus Saturn. And I know this is lighthearted, right? I know other people are going through breakups and heartbreak and everything, and I'm saying my cat is giving me agita, right? So, but it is an example of how this can manifest. And, it could be your animal, and the reason I didn't want her to go out and leave her out and then I'd go to bed is because obviously it would be a real Venus Saturn problem, and she may not come back. She may encounter some sort of raccoon pack, and they might destroy her. And we had a cat here get destroyed by a raccoon a few years ago, and it was very sad. And so obviously I'm doing this to keep her safe, and I sat down and explained that to her. But it's like talking to your kids. Maybe your kids are driving you nuts this past few days, and they're giving you agita, and they're trying your patience. But it is all because of love that we do these things, that we care for them so deeply and make rules and boundaries and things that have to be held in place, held and contained, right? So this is an important thing. Boundaries are very important with Saturn, especially when Venus might try to push the buttons and Neptune is there, boundaryless. And Neptune's like, oh, what boundaries? Boundaries, we don't need boundaries. Well, you do need boundaries because you have to keep yourself safe. You have to keep your children safe, your cat safe, your dog safe, and yourself safe. And you have to get rest. You need boundaries to get sleep and rest on the weekends. And you need to keep structure in your life, and that's what Saturn is very good at, boundaries and structure. So our boundaries may have been tested by our animals, children, people, things, partners, but it is important to maintain the boundaries as we live through these Saturn-Neptune times, right? These Neptune-Saturn moments, as each planet of the inner planets takes a walk over them at this time of year because it is the Aries season, right? We're coming upon Aries season. And this is interesting because, they came in, Saturn and Neptune came in early in the year here, and so they are ripe for Aries season as they are in Aries. And we're not in like Libra season while they're doing that. We're not in Sagittarius season while they're doing that. They're receiving the inner planets as they have placed themselves in an early sign. So it's an interesting dynamic. And, I have to say, we are in a very interesting planetary time because when I look at my chart, I would say that Jupiter is really the one that's best placed right now. because Jupiter's in Cancer, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, as you've heard me say. And as I sit here now, as I said, the moon is in Scorpio, where it doesn't like to be. It's in detriment in Scorpio. And I would say Pluto is fine in Aquarius, but really what's going on is that Venus is in Aries. Mercury is in Pisces. It likes to be in Virgo, the opposite sign. Mars is in Pisces, not at its best. It's not very assertive there. Saturn really likes to be in Libra because it's exalted in Libra, not in Aries, so it's in detriment there. And Neptune in Aries is just kind of strange. Uranus wants to be in Scorpio, not in Taurus. So really the planets that are okay right now, Jupiter's the best one. The Sun is fine in Pisces. Pluto's fine in Aquarius. Neptune in Aries is a little weird, but I wouldn't say it's at a detriment or anything. But this is so weird that so many things are not in a great place. And so this just sort of adds to all of the energies right now of the eclipses and Mercury retrograde and just all the tensions that we have going on in the sky. And the eclipses have finished. The eclipses have finished, but we are not finished with eclipse season, and that won't happen until mid next week when we have the new moon, okay, at the end of Pisces. So we got a little while, about a week and a half from when I'm recording this podcast to really end eclipse season. And so I found this eclipse to be interesting. It was definitely, that south node release of energy. And I definitely experienced some shifts and changes around that, which I was grateful for. I'm dealing with an injury in my hand, so that's been something that's been bothering me the entire eclipse period, and so I understand it. I know how to deal with it and everything, but it's really it's typical of eclipses. There's something uncomfortable going on, and for me this time it's my hand. I have to say, when I looked back at September's eclipses, remember that second one was opposite Saturn Neptune, and they were on the verge of Pisces Aries back then, and the last eclipse in September was opposite Saturn very strongly because it was at the end of Virgo. And so that was kind of tense, and that was a whole other flavor. And while Saturn and Neptune is going on, they weren't aspecting it like last time. So I think that this was a little lighter, but there's always something that's given us pause during an eclipse period, so this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with stuff, healing stuff, Virgo eclipse, things in the body, things around work, things around everyday job, things around keeping your place clean. Virgo is also loyalty, small animals that are giving you pause, giving you a little agita, giving you agitation. So I'm glad it wasn't like last time, because it was harder last time. So last eclipse, last year in September. So this is an unusual collection of planetary energies while things are sort of in these in-between places, Mercury in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus has been in Taurus for a long, long time. But it's just right now, things are not at their best. And so we turn to Jupiter, who is our guiding light here, Jupiter in Cancer, and Jupiter is going direct this week. Isn't that fantastic? So this is the real big news of the week. In the middle of, the eclipse period winding down and getting out of these eclipse energies, we are getting Jupiter going direct on Tuesday, the 10th of March, the day after tomorrow, and it goes direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. It is going to go direct at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and now that it's daylight savings time for me, that's 9:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. in the Pacific time zone. I'm Central Standard. So this is really a wonderful, wonderful thing. That now positive, optimistic opening of Jupiter going forward is really something special and great that we have to look forward to this week. Jupiter is the planet of abundance, expansion, optimism, but Jupiter also asks you to expand sometimes in ways that you don't want to expand, in embracing things that maybe you don't feel comfortable embracing, opening the doors to something that you hadn't planned to open the door to. So it depends on you, your chart, where it's going, what it's doing. And so I really love, though, that we are getting this nice Jupiter going direct while we are finishing up the eclipse period. The eclipses themselves are over, and now this is the first step in a new direction. Yay! A first step in the new direction. This is great. And this is something that I think is going to really make a difference, and it's going to brighten us up, and we can tap into joy this way and really tap into some positive creative energies going forward. So I think this is a bright spot in all of this planetary malaise, shall we call it, where things are sort of hanging out in Pisces. And Pisces is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Pisces is, visionary and creative and empathic and can go very deep. But Mars is really not at its best in Pisces, and it's not, like I said, it's not like an actual real detriment or anything. But it's a funny little place because, when I've had many people in my life with Mars and Pisces. My mother had Mars and Pisces, my late partner had Mars and Pisces, and they were good people. And that doesn't make, it's not a blanket statement that Mars is just bad there. It's maybe they're misdirected sometimes. But, and my partner was a healer, so that was perfect for him. What really is the caution with Mars and Pisces is the sneakiness, the insidiousness, the type of energy that comes through the back door and slips in without you knowing. And so we do need to stay on some sort of alert with Mars in Pisces, because it does bring up energies that are uncomfortable in some way. Do I want to confront this? Really? Not really. I want to go hide. I'm going to go crawl back into bed. I'm going to crawl under the bed. In fact, I'm going to put my head under my pillow, and that's exactly where I'm going to keep it. Okay, so there's things that we want to confront but don't want to confront. So there's that. Then, of course, there's the insidiousness of possibly getting robbed, which is a Mars and Pisces thing, a Mars-Neptune thing. Somebody was sneaky. Someone took something from you. You have to be careful with that. Use your judgment. Use your intuition. Be very cautious in your dealings with people. Keep your wallet close to you. The usual things that we take care of. Don't just let strangers in your house, all that kind of stuff. Those cautionary tales that we've gotten our whole lives. So Mars and Pisces could be being manipulated, somebody being sneaky behind your back, something that you don't want to necessarily admit or confront in someone else because, what am I thinking? I'm going to accuse them of this or something. But you may be very aware of how you might be manipulated by someone or something in your life. So don't let these things slip by you. Be very careful right now. Mars is going to be there till next month, and you just want to be aware of your surroundings and your belongings, okay? And then there's more complicated manipulations in business and things like that, so you want to watch for that too. Mars, however, is going to cross the North Node in Pisces between Thursday and Friday at 8 degrees of Pisces. And I think that's very interesting because that hasn't happened in a very long time, because the North Node hasn't been in Pisces in 19 years or so, and Mars crossed it back then. And so that was the last time the Mars North Node conjunction in Pisces happened. Of course, it conjunct in other signs. But so this is an interesting dynamic. Mercury is very close as well. And so it will be a Mars North Node, a little wide Mercury close to the sun situation in Pisces. Now, North Node in Pisces is about having faith. And it's about putting your faith in something instead of doing the math and being calculating and analytical and not trusting. And I've talked about this North Node, South Node scenario for a long time now. And, South Node in Virgo is always about, I can't let go. I'm worried. I can't let go. Pisces is saying, please trust, please. And with Mars at the North Node, close to Mercury in Pisces, I think that this could be something very beneficial for us, because it could be that, if you use it that way, it enforces the need to trust, to expand into belief in something, and to really put your faith in something greater than yourself. Okay? Virgo thinks, I have to do the whole job, right? My teacher used to say, God forbid you let God handle the details with this scenario. South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces. God forbid you let God handle the details. You have to let God handle the details. Let go and let God, as they say. Okay, so that's something that you want to be aware of, and Mars might be coming around to like put that extra stamp of belief in something. Put that in your life, put that in our lives, that extra stamp of belief. So do be aware of that. Use the energy wisely. It is a good time, to use that Marsy energy. Maybe you want to kindly assert yourself in some way. Maybe you want to put a lot of faith in, a certain type of healing protocol. Maybe you're going to go see a healer. You're going to go see your doctor. You're going to go see a healer. That can all spell Mars in the North Node in Pisces. So, yeah, and put your faith in something that is not seen as well. Not seen. Something that is the unknown. We have to trust the unknown and embrace and open to the unknown. There's a lot of water in the sky right now as the moon is in Scorpio, and all of this Pisces energy, and Jupiter in Cancer. There is some fire, as you know, because we've got 3 planets in fire in Aries, and a little bit of air with Pluto in Aquarius, and a little bit of earth with Uranus in Taurus. So the elements are a little out of balance because there's a lot of water right now. So if you're feeling emotional and you're feeling sensitive, then this is why, because we have a lot of water. And Mercury and the Sun have been talking to Jupiter very nicely. And Mercury is actually giving a very lovely kiss and hug to Jupiter tomorrow, in a few hours, actually, 1:23 a.m. Eastern Time, in the wee hours of the morning of Monday the 9th. So Jupiter and Mercury are going to have a little kiss. Mercury is going to trine Jupiter, and this is a nice flowing thing. It's great for new ideas. It's great for conversations. It's great for opening the door to new visions, new ideas. And as Jupiter is stationing, they're both retrograde, and Jupiter is going to go direct as it's stationing in this aspect with Mercury. So it's good. It's really good. There's nothing fleeting about this. It's kind of deepening and asking us to deepen as we experience these next couple of days. Deepen our vision, deepen our ideas, deepen our feelings. Go into deep conversations with people. Jupiter is about knowledge too. Jupiter always wants to open the door to knowledge. So that's something really positive as well. Venus is going to speak very nicely to Pluto Tuesday morning at 2:52 a.m. Eastern Time. And so that's something, that doesn't happen very often either, because she's sextiling Pluto. So that comes around a couple times a year. And she's giving Pluto a nice nod. And now that she's finished with Saturn and Neptune, she can have a conversation that's reasonable with Pluto. Like, this is where I've just been with that crazy Saturn-Neptune situation, and here's the secrets I've uncovered. So she'll talk to Pluto, and they'll have some agreements about what Neptune and Saturn had to say. And, if it felt sticky this weekend, if it felt not flowing, it's because of all of this Neptune Saturn getting triggered. Okay, so this is the way it's going to be for a little while, until Saturn really starts to move away from Neptune, and it will do that. That's going to be more in May, and we'll start to feel the pressure release, because they will be in 2 different areas of Aries. There's going to start to be like a 8-degree difference between them, and a 10-degree difference, and it'll get greater and greater. and they won't do that exact conjunction again like they did. I mean, they were pretty conjunct last year, but the real oomph came this year. And it's always about the retrograde. It's always about them going backwards into the old sign and then coming back forwards, and that making a big difference. And things are going to move forward once we get that Uranus out of the end of Taurus and moves into Gemini at the end of April, April 26th. So there's a lot of movement coming forward, even if right now feels a little bit cluttered with too much water in the sky and things not being in their rightful places. And it just feels heavy because of the eclipses. So, I'm really looking forward to Jupiter going direct on Tuesday of this week. And then, Jupiter will spend the rest of these next few months in the sign of Cancer, and then eventually by July 1st, he will go into Leo. So between now and July 1st, which is a few months, we still get to enjoy Jupiter's exaltation in Cancer. And then I think it's good in Leo. Jupiter in Leo is good because it's in a fire sign. And so that always opens the door to more vision and excitement and creativity and children. Jupiter in Leo is great for kids and for dealing with children and playing with children and creating with children. So that's a good thing. If you've got kids in your life, Jupiter in Leo is going to be great for that. And that'll be a whole year of Jupiter in Leo. But it's going to oppose Pluto. There's going to be a dynamic between Jupiter and Pluto. So that's going to be very interesting. But we have a bunch of months before that happens. So let's just stay with Jupiter in lovely Cancer. And Jupiter in Cancer is also really good for families, for homes, for connection, for, communities that feel like family, friends who feel like family. And Jupiter in Cancer really helps bring people together as well. I think it's a nice place for Jupiter to be. So in the midst of all this strife in the world, in the midst of all this strife with the planets, we're getting some good Jupiter, and that's really going to make a difference here. So that's nice. And then Mercury is going to traverse backwards and greet Mars next Sunday the 15th. And Mars and Mercury will meet at 4:08 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday the 15th. And that's always good for communication. That's good for intuition because it is in Pisces. They'll be in Pisces. And that's really a great place for them to kind of meet up and connect. And, even though, as I said, Mercury is going to be close to Mars when it conjuncts that North Node, Mercury is going to meet exactly with Mars next Sunday. Now, another thing about Mercury is when Mercury finally goes direct on Friday the 20th, it's going direct on the North Node. Okay, it is going direct at that 8-degree mark on the North Node. It's going to be going backwards until then. And when it does this is very interesting. We do need to pay attention to this Mars conjunction this week because this is like a precursor to what Mercury is going to bring when it goes direct. If you have planets at 8 degrees Pisces or 9 or 7 or 10, anywhere around there, like I do, I have Venus at 9. This could be something really important that something comes through, or something in Gemini, 9 or 10, Virgo, Sagittarius. This is all in that axis, the mutable signs. But this precursor, this Mars on the North Node, is going to give us some information about Mercury turning direct, because this information is happening at the same place where Mercury will go direct. And even though Mercury's close, this is very interesting dynamic. Mars is going to come to the North Node Thursday, Friday. Then by Sunday, Mercury will have gone backwards and touch Mars. And so Mars won't be at the North Node anymore. It'll be past it. But they are going to make that connection. And Mercury and Mars are going to have a dialogue of information about the North Node. And then Mercury is going to go direct on that North Node and station next week. So Mercury is going to get to that 8-degree point. It'll be 9 and then 8 on the 17th, which is Tuesday. and it's going to sit at 8 degrees for days until it goes direct on Friday the 20th. So, very interesting. 8 degrees Pisces is a lot of information being passed around there. So, what we've got is, let me repeat, Mars and the North Node meeting at 8 degrees Pisces between Thursday, Friday this week, depending on where you live. And then Mercury is going to get there on the 17th to that 8-degree point after it talks to Mars on the 15th. It'll talk to Mars at like 12 degrees or so. And then Tuesday the 17th, that's next week, it will get to 8 degrees Pisces, and then it's going to stay there and finally get out of 8 degrees Pisces on the 24th of March, which is a whole other 7 days. So it's going to spend a week at 8 degrees Pisces, okay? And Mars is going to go there this week. This is the North Node. Information, very important. Maybe information we've been waiting to hear. Maybe information we can deliver. Maybe good news with Mercury stationing direct on the North Node in Pisces. So this is intuitive. Tap into your intuition, meditate, do your meditations. This is a great time to really tap in and get information that you might not get verbally in the world. Pisces is very non-verbal, okay? And this is why, like Mars on the North Node and stuff, it's very non-verbal. This is why I was saying be careful with the insidiousness of Mars and Pisces. But with this whole dynamic of Mercury going to sit there with the North Node for a week at 8 degrees, this is something where we may be receiving information with our antenna, not our ears, okay? Maybe somebody's not going to talk to you. Maybe you're going to feel it. You're going to tune into it. And that's an important thing to do, is tune in, because it may not be physical information. You may not get a letter in the mail, an email, or anything. You may be getting intuitive information coming from beyond, from the unknown, from spirit, okay? So Pisces, again, is a very non-verbal sign. And Pisces also is this Neptunian elusive energy. Maybe you think you're going to, oh, I know what this is going to be. I'm going to hear blah, blah, blah from so-and-so. And that's not. It's not. Someone gives you a message from your dead mother, it could be that. It's like, your mother spoke to me and I heard her clearly and she says this. So this is a very interesting Mercury station next week. And so Mercury is working up to get to that North Node, and it did pass it once before. It passed around the 12th of February, and it was really like 9 degrees then. So it was like the 11th, the 12th of February, and if there was something important going on then. But I have a feeling, and that was before the first eclipse, I have a feeling that was something different. That isn't this. That isn't Mercury sitting there. Mars coming, sitting, and then Mercury coming and sitting for a week on the North Node. So something very direction-oriented, very new direction maybe, something fulfilling, something that's going to open the door maybe to a new direction could possibly be part of this scenario, depending on where Mercury is for you, where that North Node is. So I welcome you to come have a session with me, thegoldenastrologer.com. You can book online there, because you may be very curious about where these things are happening for you in your astrological chart. And I invite you to look deeper into your astrological chart and find out where Saturn and Neptune are and how they are working for you, and where this Jupiter is going direct, and where Uranus going to go. And we're going to have a whole new ball game once Uranus goes into Gemini. And once Mercury goes direct, nothing's going retrograde for a few months until Pluto in May, and then we're really clear on retrogrades for a while. So that's good. And if you get a session with me, you'll get to experience how the planets are getting you revved up for something new in your life with Saturn and Neptune. And I see a lot of people starting to do new things or think about new projects as Saturn and Neptune are arriving together. And I also offer a lovely 5D Lemurian Reiki, and that's a beautiful experience. It's clearing, it's healing, it's a great place to just sort of clear the cobwebs and get messages from spirit and just clean up the energy around you in your life. And I have expansion mentoring if you are interested in up leveling your life for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. That's what we do in expansion mentoring. And I pull out all my tools from my toolbox. So that's there. And I am on Instagram, the Golden Astrologer, if you'd like to view the videos and things that I have there. So I thank you so much for listening. It's a beautiful day here, a beautiful evening. I hope it's beautiful where you are. I hope spring is about to come if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And I wish you a wonderful week. Enjoy Jupiter stationing direct. This is a great thing. And thank you for listening. Blessings to everyone on the week ahead, and gratitude, gratitude, gratitude so much for always being here for me and always listening and being my audience. So thank you so much. Blessings to everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful, grateful week.